Hi, everybody. I'm Martin Bispels. I'm co-founder and CEO of Retroactive, but much more important than me is my guest, Big Rich Dorris. Rich, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to know Gary.
Detroit, born and raised. We were running the streets 65, 66. I was pretty young, but I was large. I was 6'6", so I could go in bars when I was 16. But I got wind of the stuff going on. I like to think it came from Life magazine. They had biker stories and they had hippie stories, and we went. And that was the first inklings I had. Uh, so I actually saw the MC5 van driving down 7 Mile Road in Detroit when I was wondering what is this? Friend of mine, brother came home from the Navy and took us down to Plum Street on Detroit. Would be art center, what do they call it? Whatever, community sponsored by the city of Detroit, Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
And was a bunch of head shops, which very soon became a little mini hate street with all that implies. And within a year or so, the underground newspaper was there, the Fifth Estate, and coffee shops and hippie stores and whatnot. You could go down there and buy some marijuana if you really tried. So we did.
Set the scene for me a little bit. So Detroit, 1969, Grandy Ballroom. Just kind of set the scene. What was that like being in that space?
The Grandy is a place, it was a dance hall from the 30s. Ornate in there. It had a raised promenade like a horseshoe with a wooden floor, like it for dancing and for roller skating. Various groups did the light shows. Translove was the hippies in Detroit. John Sinclair and all those guys, and they were publishing poetry. And 17 years old, I went in there and it was free for all, strobe lights. Pretty much do what you want with some discretion. There would, things were fairly uptight there. Getting there was difficult.
Yeah.
It's in what we call the hood. Occasionally there was clashes,
Yeah.
things happened. But I never had anything but a good time there. Some of my dad's cops buddies told him they saw me coming out of the place and I looked like I was three sheets to the wind. I went, "Oh, Dad, we probably had a couple cocktails or something." Now, MC5 was a house band. They played all the time. Gary was actually in the Navy. That's a whole nother aspect, though. He got out, ended up in San Francisco in 67,
Yeah.
66 probably. Yeah. But you could really have a lot of fun there, and it was cheap. We saw Big Brothers, Janis Joplin, The Who,
Yeah.
2 or 3 nights in a row for $5. It was fabulous.
Right. Now, actually, Laura Grimshaw told me a story about that. There was a riot and they burned down all the buildings except for the Grandy Ballroom. Yeah.
We went down and opened the Grandy up. It was 1996.
Wow.
We had a guy who was a poster collector, was also a cop from a suburban community. So we pried the plywood off, and the rubble was to the door. The roof was down.
Wow.
We went in there and had Dennis Thompson from the MC5 with us, and they recorded him comments and so on. And it was like light in there because there was no roof. Big windows they would open up, and it was all very ornate, like Grandy Ballroom. It was very Spanish, like if you've seen the photographs of it. People were really respectful. Savoy Brown, they loved it here. They dedicated their album to the kids at the Grandy Ballroom, which they were kids. If you look at the pictures, they're teenagers.
Yeah.
All of these artworks were coming, and we called ourselves freaks rather than hippies, like Freek, freak.
Yeah.
Because before the MC5, Frank Zappa was doing crazy stuff, and we bought this record, Freak Out. And we sit around and smoke a joint and go, "Wow, that's so crazy." My mom bought us tickets to go. Oh, wait, Mom has a lot to do with this. She used to hang out in this park in the Detroit River called Belle Isle.
Yep.
She took me and my sidekick down there. We were still like black T-shirts and whatnot. We bailed out at the Love-In. It was in March of '67, and that's the MC5 played, and there was a place was thousands and thousands of people. Detroit cops were extremely hostile to everyone at all times, even at my house. Where
Wow.
so, anyways, they had a riot there, and the cops made everybody leave, and then the rest is history. So then we went full blast. Like I said, ended up down on Plum Street, ran away from home, moved into Wayne State area, which was trans love and all that stuff. But at the Detroit riots, they all migrated to Ann Arbor, which is a much more peaceful. So we were going to Ann Arbor. That's when Detroit was, you know, phased out. But they would come back and play shows all over the place.
He had some pretty radical views, right? But he was always kind of calm. Is that how you'd say describe him?
Well, he was, and we were all working class. We're all factory people.
Yeah.
His dad was a graphic designer. His dad had drafting equipment set up at his house, and Gary would sit up there and trace blueprints as 10 years old. He's up there with T-square and stuff, and it shows, and his mom says, "Well, Gary, you got to do something. You seem to like this, so you can do it all you want." That's exactly what he told me, quote.
Wow.
So he did. Then he went in the Navy. Instead of going into the Army, I went back to high school because they had bounced me for smoking pot in the bathroom.
Oh.
But I had flushed the evidence, so
Good for you. So let's bring it back to Gary's art. I want to share. Laura actually told me that she wants to offer through our collection, our Gary Grimshaw collection on Retroactive. She wants to offer this piece.
love it. Now, I
So tell me a little
feel
bit more about this piece.
I was at that show,
Yeah.
but that particular show, Big Brother and Holding Company, which we love, she was Hell's Angels approved. They seen the album cover,
Yeah.
art from Hell's Angels approved. I mean, we
Yeah.
were still kind of one foot in that world. And I consider that poster to be the high watermark of Detroit counterculture.
Wow.
Because after that, things just started unraveling.
Mm.
The more people got harassed, the more the band and Sinclair and the MC5 got harassed,
Right.
the worse things got.
Yeah.
But that particular piece, I have it hanging in the other room. Yeah, that's my personal opinion. It's a high water, it's an image of this. He did so many. I mean, how you say,
So yeah, I think sometimes when people are so talented, people almost expect them to have a huge ego and a lot of, attitude, right? And Gary just didn't, right?
I thought he would be a lot flashier than he is. I forgot to mention the brown shoes he was wearing
Oh,
on the
tell me.
first time we met him. I looked him up and down. I had on a deerskin shirt, bell bottoms, and moccasins, right? I was hippied all to hell. Gary come in with a button-down shirt, some kind of probably blue jeans, and brown lace-up shoes. And I'm looking at him going, wow. I was not shocked, but I was, wow.
So Big Rich, let me just wrap up here. So, uh, what would you want? What we're offering by working with Laura Grimshaw, Gary's widow. We're offering Gary's artwork on T-shirts and things, really to help spread the word, right, and share his art. Uh, so, what would you want people to know that are out there, wearing these Gary Grimshaw shirts? What would you want people to know about him, when they're wearing his art?
Extremely talented, genius,
Yeah.
and you're lucky to be wearing his goods. Um, it's really reflective of a certain time.
Yeah.
And I think people, you know, it's been 50 years. So you got to be pretty old to even have been around. And I'm going to be 75 in a couple of weeks. So
All
that
right.
tells you
Good for
something.
you.
Uh,
But that's what's cool about it, right? And really that's what we're all about at Retroactive is taking these pieces of, legendary art, right, with all this history and wonderful stories behind it, and the people that it represents, right? And then, the merch, it's just a T-shirt, but it means more than that because it's symbolic, right, of this time, of these people.
right, the poster, you gotta frame it, you gotta do something with it, or put it under the bed where mine live,
Yeah, yeah.
like everybody's does. Quite a guy.
Well, I think Gary would be proud
He's
that,
uni-
you know,
universally beloved, as far as I
yeah,
could tell.
yeah.